Makeup will be with you in just a second.
Excellent. How about hair?
We can put the filter.
But that's got great hair. So,
My first question is, I guess, have any of you watched Black Mirror? And if so, do you think the technological advancement depicted are realistic or exaggerated?
It's a very futuristic technology, but in the context of a world that's very like today. And I think the idea is that it reflects back on what the world is like today of it.
It's in the name, isn't it? Black Mirror. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, reflection.
Do you think any of the technologies that feature in the series could be implemented in our lifetime?
To the point that
I mean, there are also technologies like, it was an attempted technology, but Google Glass, like in 2012 or whatever it was, really started the idea that you could see information about the things that you're looking at for a while, and like with modern like technology and AI vision things, you could actually get more information out of it. So I wouldn't be unexpected if that happens sooner rather than later.
yeah, I keep seeing adverts for mental classes on YouTube, so it's kind of
Yeah.
maybe that's the point in a way, is that the sort of future is already arriving. It's just not entirely mainstream yet, not fully adopted, not fully ingrained, but there's seeds of it that are already available.
I think, even 5 years ago, would anyone have thought would have ChatGPT bots? I mean, if you look at that advance, it was so massive, it was so distinct that it just came out of nowhere. Well, you guys are a bit young maybe, but the idea of the modern cell phone, when I was a kid, we had dial-up phones. Pick it up, and our phone was bright red because it had such embarrassing conversations with my brothers with girlfriends. I think it was black to begin with, but dial-up.
Are you sharing the nuclear codes for that?
How do you think technology has changed our social dynamics thus far, and how do you think it will continue to change them?
Well, I think that I see in my daughter's age range, they all want to be influencers now. So everyone wants to be out there on YouTube and have their YouTube accounts, and how to get the number of views. Click here, like and subscribe. They all know that kind of stuff. So I think that idea of I want to be famous on the social media has become now a phenomenon that kids have.
Sign up to a monthly newsletter, by the way. It's really good. Yeah.
Click and like and
Do
subscribe.
follow us on LinkedIn.
I mean, it's come to the point that Australia, quite literally yesterday, just banned 16-year-olds from, under 16-year-olds from social media.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are they going to stop them, or are they just going to take?
Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows how to regulate this technology anymore. Like, it's the laws go so slowly that technology will probably have surpassed it by the time that they come out.
In some sense.
There is a flip side as well. You're a lot of this sort of whistleblowing and activism and things like that. Privacy, things like Tor, VPNs, can be used for criminal, illicit activities, but they can also be fighting for people who are under a politically oppressed system, trying to, vocalise what's going on. So it's sort of easy to think of social networks as what most people are using most of the time, but I guess there's sort of more underground forms that help people share what is actually happening in the world and collaborate on projects.
As a kind of startup, are you finding it difficult? Do you feel quite kind of overshadowed by these huge giants? Is it creating tough barriers to break through?
From our standpoint of view, yes. We're definitely seeing a lot of the really big guys desperate to own this market, and they're essentially prepared to do stuff for free in order to try winning the market. Now, it's not going to be free forever. They just want it free right now in order to try and push out the little guys. I'm not sure they're going to succeed at that, but it definitely makes it much harder for us to get out there and succeed because of that intense competition that's going on right now in the market space.
I think it's hard for us because it's almost like, back in the earlier days when the newspapers are very powerful. It's sort of, if you own a method of communication, you can control what people see. I mean, the bigger companies that we would be competing against are the ones who also own the platforms where people find things, search engines, LinkedIn, any of these sites. ultimately owned by companies who are invested, Meta, whoever. It may not be their primary product, but they're investing heavily in AI. And so if Google comes back with Google's products, people see, is anyone going to Yahoo? I mean, I use DuckDuckGo, but I've got to be in a minority.
I agree. It's hard to even find our competitors because you can't find them on Google very easily. You can't find us on Google, but I don't even know who our competitors are because you can't find them on Google very easily either.
These platforms are so prevalent. There's no longer a sort of legal framework for deciding who can do what and who has responsibility. There's a lot of scams going around on Facebook. Meta would appear don't particularly want to deal with that. Nobody can force them, and it's their platform, they have a say. So it's sort of almost like, the metaverse, you're sort of living in a different reality, but there's no legal framework and no political system. It's just decided by the entity.
That's also the thing that social media companies, specifically with their algorithms, are effectively training people on what they should do on their platform. Even words that are specifically censored, like on TikTok, you're not allowed to say suicide or kill. Everything is now unalived. And so certain use of vocabulary is censored in that form, and it's changed because of the algorithm that they've decided to use. It's a similar way that YouTube is deciding what is actually copyright infringement and what isn't. It's not the law anymore, it's because their platform is so ubiquitous for the place to see these videos that now what they say goes.
If there was one aspect of your life that you could enhance, be it something physical, something that you hate doing, something like that, would you do it, and what would it be? Specifically using technology?
I'd like to be able to see better.
That's also a good use.
That'd be kind of nice. Whether that's going to happen or not, would I do it? I don't know. There's sort of risks with it. I've debated actually buying there's sort of these open source VR goggles you can get, and I thought I can do that. I can even remove the lenses, just put the screens right in front of my eyes at about the right distance, and then have cameras on front, and then I can actually zoom in and see things, and maybe even drive. I'm not sure what the police would make of me driving around in my VR goggles. It's sort of, they may be a little horrified at that, but it's...
Are there any aspects of technology nowadays which make you uneasy? Do you guys all use VPNs? Do you cover up your screen when you're at home getting changed or something?
The easiest thing is facial recognition. The UK has the most cameras per population. There are constant issues whether the police should actually be allowed to use these facial recognition algorithms in just general OpenCV networks or not, just to track people. And once you get tracking, then you get issues with tracking who are you tracking and for what reasons. So certain things like that definitely, I think, need to be regulated before they are ever allowed to be used.
Fine line, isn't it? I think body cameras have gone a long. I don't know if there's any evidence yet, but just conceptually, they've gone a long way to reducing police corruption, use of excessive force, things like that. There should be accountability.
It's always the issue that even if you have this grand idea for doing things for good reasons, you're not always going to be the one using the technology. So if understanding what you're creating can be used in other ways, even with vocal recreation of oh yes, I can now make Stephen Fry read every audiobook to me, and that's fantastic. But we could also have things where now Donald Trump is just saying that he's going to nuke Iraq or something, and that while seeming unreasonable could be reasonable to some people who follow him, and therefore it just increases.
So I think I've always been a bit worried about all this genetic testing that's been going on. So 23andMe being a famous example, and it's not people are making that decision to do it, but they inadvertently revealing information about other ones around them that didn't necessarily want to participate in giving away genetic information. And for anyone out watching, even though we are being genetically tested, we're on a DNA detour if a problem turns up. We don't have DNA defects in my family. But So that's happening, and now what's happening with 23andMe, right, is it's going broke, and that data is going to be bought by someone like BlackRock or someone like that, presumably. And now what happens to all that data? People have revealed all this family information, whether you wanted to or not, and it has been used to track down people in criminal situations. So, I think that's kind of scary that this kind of technology is out there, it's going into the private domain, these companies go broke, that data goes up for sale. You've got no control over how it's going to get used.
And it's kind of the same, people are paying for that service and then basically handing over their data.
Yeah.
Which, not to be too much of a plug, but that's kind of the situation we're up against with AI. People are paying for access to these products, and it may help their productivity, they may whatever, but fundamentally they're also kind of handing over the keys to all of the data warehouses in effect when they're doing it, because they're sending it over to someone else, and if they have the rights and the terms and conditions to use that for their own means.
So my question for you is, how do you think we can kind of involve the rest of society in these conversations about the future of technology?
I think...
You're talking to the wrong group?
I don't know, is any one of us necessarily involved in the way things progress right now? Does it just sort of happen? It's a closed group of people who decide what product they're going to come up with ultimately, and then people use it or they don't. It'd be a difficult thing to sort of do without changing free market economics, basically, right? Is what it comes down to. I think the way technology changes is the same thing. If you want to go off and develop a new tool, you can do it, and you can sell it, and people buy it or they don't, and they use it or they don't. But they're probably not going to be openly involving society beyond the sort of market research group. Right? So.
Otherwise, it's really kind of up to people. It's like whether people vote or not. You always have an opportunity to, but will you?
Do you really have a choice when you vote, though?
No, that's why I don't bother anymore.
Most of the time, no.
This isn't going to be a good. There's no point. They're both the same. They're all the same. They're not going to do anything.
PDF parsing.
Yeah. I mean, it improves
understanding tables.
Yes, no, thousands of years it has taken human society to get a point we can look at a rectangle with some text in it and say, yes, I know what that is. That is I don't.
I mean, we had that before with what benefits AI could bring. If you had your own glasses VR set that could actually tell you what the world around you was doing and automatically focus on what you need, then yeah, I think accessibility is one of the a main contributor to everything.
I think so.
We already have these certain apps which are you'll phone someone and they'll be your vision for a while for people who are blind, which shelf is the milk on or whatever in your fridge. And so not needing to have those apps because you have something self-contained in your own app would be great for people, I think. And I think there are many more technologies that AI could bring in that sense. We'll just have to see what one's developed.
I don't know, combating electoral fraud and greater transparency in the public sector and things like that could be massively beneficial. It's hard to see a concrete way that would be happening, but
so I think one of the areas where I think AI could make a huge difference is with data. I mean, that's obviously we focus a lot on that here at smartR is looking at data and how we can get information out of it. So I call it converting data into knowledge. And there is so much data around, biased in that amount. And so the capacity for us to actually do stuff with that data, I think is going to explode. And I think that could lead to all kinds of amazing things that get discovered. When we were working with a client that wanted to know, okay, what is the effect of the onset of delay of treatment for cancer in the UK, which has been happening. What we found was actually cancer survival rates had gone up fairly dramatically over the last 15 years, and it's really because people have figured out better treatment pathways and there were better drugs, and people were now surviving longer and better with those kind of diseases. But I think the capacity to do that with medical technology and really extend the quality of life and the health of people over time is a phenomenal application that AI can do. And AI can do it because it can really ingest way more data than an individual could. It can understand things at so much larger range and absorb so much more data. I think we have the capacity now to do that. But there's all kinds of ethical concerns and stuff you need to be worried about. But I think the potential is there to really make a difference in people's lives.